Here's a good illustration of voting. If you're standing next to somebody and they stomp in a muddy puddle and it gets you wet, and you're like, "Oh man, you got me all muddy wet," and then he says, "Well, you didn't step in the puddle. What do you have to complain about?" That's voting.
You can't give me the right to be a human being. I'm born with that right. Now you can keep me from having that if you've got all the policemen and all the jobs on your side.
All right, welcome back for another episode of Spokane-archy. It's episode 10. We made it into double digits. Thanks to our perseverance, I guess. Again, we have the full crew with us here at the Donut Parade on the corner of Hamilton and Illinois in Spokane, Washington. So thanks for joining us for another night. We've got some interesting topics up tonight. And again, we have the Wheel of Misfortune back, so we'll have some fun with that. After the intermission again, see what kind of fun we can bring up for the intermission of tonight's show. So I guess we'll just get right into it. Something that happened locally here in Spokane. Officer Nash, I don't remember his first name. Do you remember? Can you just read that? Nathan. Yeah, there you go. Got to get his full name out there so he's fully shamed. Nathan Nash, he's a former Spokane police officer. I think it was yesterday he was found guilty of 2 counts of rape, right? Yeah, get it right? Okay, yeah, rape. He was acquitted on some other charges, like there was a false imprisonment charge, some things like that he was acquitted on, but 2 different counts of rape. And to me, the craziest thing about it is both of these counts are he was going to take a report or get more items for a report from a victim of sexual assault. So basically, someone was sexually assaulted, or at least claimed to be, and he went there and sexually assaulted him while he's getting the report. So, I've spoken up. Before I say more about it, you guys have anything to say?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just since it's the Spokane-archy podcast, it should be pointed out that when you give this kind of power over to the so-called authorities who think they have authority over us, it will inevitably be abused. And this is only one instance where the guy got caught. So it happens a lot more than you think. And so people who need to be extra aware when they're dealing with people who are already on a power trip. They cannot just assume that that person has their best interest in mind.
Yeah, it's really disgusting though too. Like you have this sort of role to play in helping people, and you're not helping them. Like these women were sexually assaulted already, and then he goes there to do it again. Like I think, but it's horrible. It's so disgusting.
Well, I mean, it makes you wonder really how many times he's done it before and it just hadn't been brought up. Like, not just with other people to get away with it and other crimes on the police force, but if it happened twice and the only reason the second victim came forward is because the first victim did. It got attention locally on the news, and then it gave her courage to come forward. So, how many didn't have the courage to come forward, or maybe just too embarrassed about it, not to not even say anything?
Right.
So there's that. And I remember reading one of the reports. The victim who came forward first, she said, when he was doing it, that it seemed odd to her. Like you said, didn't seem right, but he was a cop, so she just, I'm supposed to trust him. He's there taking this report, helping me with what happened. So, I think it kind of progressed to a point where all of a sudden she was like, oh crap, what's happening? And then didn't really maybe know what to do until afterwards. I mean, I don't know. I can't really I know what I would do, but I'm not really a woman, I think. You know what I mean? So, anyways, kind of one of the themes, I guess, that we just talked about real quick in the show. You brought up yesterday, a lot of times we get into the minutia, or not yesterday, the last show, we get into the minutia of the, like, picking sides of which is right or wrong. We shouldn't be talking about that. We should be talking about why do these people have authority over our lives. And so why is it that when this happened to her, like, basically her only recourse is to, I mean, she can call a private investigator, but that might actually help. There's not really a crime to solve. It's pretty obvious what happened to sexual assault.
Right.
So it's not like that would help. Like, so her only recourse really in our society as it's structured now is to call the police. And so, like, why is it that they're the only ones that have authority to, like, investigate and bring justice, whatever their version of justice is, for these kind of crimes?
Right.
And of course, the media doesn't bring up any of this. They say, oh, it's unfortunate or whatever, but they never go any further than to say why. Why is it that we give police officers the kind of deference and authority over our lives? It's because they're completely propagandized constantly. Trust the experts, trust the authorities.
Right.
Don't think for yourself. Just stop thinking and put everything else aside and let them handle it. And it puts people that think that way into a very vulnerable state.
Right.
And then bad things like this happen. They'll never say that on the news.
Right. You know, I read a lot of news articles on this from when the story started. I mean, this happened in 2021 when she came forward, maybe even 2020. So it's been a little while.
Like 2019.
Yeah. Well, I think that's when it happened.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, maybe that's even when she came forward. So it's been a long time.
Yeah.
There's been several stories written about it from all her different court appearances, and yeah, you know, nobody ever brought up, like, there in the initial writings, I remember, I'll link these stories in the description, but there was one of the officers brought up that she kind of thought some of Nash's behaviors were weird, like one of the female officers. So, like, why is it that the news doesn't ever bring up, well, hey, like, did any of you guys think his behavior was weird? And if you did, like, why did you just okay with it? You know, they don't like question this whole back to blue brotherhood, you know. And I think that's a big problem. Like, it's not okay if people knew that something like this were going on within the department and they didn't say anything. That's not okay. Like, these people allegedly have this authority over our lives. At least they think they do, and that's really all that matters.
And of course, on all the media and the entertainment, you know, what's their nickname? The finest.
Right? Yeah. Spokane's finest.
Yeah.
Right? Well, yeah, and that's the story is like,
People who put out fires are brave, and
Right.
the people who abuse us are fine.
finest, right? And, yeah, they made it, they kind of singled the story is like, oh yeah, well, this is a cop and he did something bad, but the focus is almost like, look, we weeded out the bad guy.
Yeah, bad apple.
Yeah, right? So just kind of more of that, trust the rest of them that didn't say anything about any of his bad behaviors and don't say anything about other stuff. Just keep trusting them.
Or prevent anything again.
Right?
There's no prevention.
Right?
Oh, there'll be some reform. Don't worry.
How not to get caught next time.
Right. Which, speaking of which, I guess that could segue us pretty good into our next topic. Was that predictive policing? I gotta get the term correct here, I guess. Yeah, predictive policing. So this was something somebody brought up on the last podcast, the last show. They wanted us to discuss predictive policing, and that's so. That's what we talk about, like as an anarchist, and I talk to someone, a statist who believes that we have to have police. That's what I asked them. Well, what do police actually do? Well, they keep us from getting robbed. How do they do that? Are they like standing at your door when the robber comes? Keep that from happening? No, they don't. They come up after the fact and take a report. They'll keep us from getting robbed. So if that's how policing is, that's what the whole this concept is predictive policing would be trying to stop crimes before they happen. Which, I mean, we already kind of do that, right? And that'll be our first government euphemism of the day.
Yeah.
Predictive policing, and it is from the National Institute of Justice over sharing. But
Whatever that is.
right? Right? Yeah,
As if it were some authoritative source.
Right? I mean, that's just a complete oxymoron. I guess it's not government. It is a government entity, but the National Institute of Justice. So, we won't even go into that, I guess. But predictive policing, I mean, like speeding being a violation and them being able to pull us over and arrest us on the road, is that not predictive policing?
Yeah.
Because we haven't committed any crimes yet.
Right? Yeah. And they're doing that. I mean, it's a form of it, I guess, because they're doing that as a phishing attempt, really. I mean, that's basically what it is, to try to get more crimes. But I think the theory of why they convince the public why that was okay originally, because that hasn't always been that way. I mean, we used to not even have speed. So maybe how they convince the public of doing that as well, people that are out there speeding, they're more likely to commit other crimes.
The focus of the article was on the data.
Right.
The data collection and using the data and crunching the numbers and trying to figure out where there's going to be some alleged crime happening somewhere. And to me, it seems like a red herring, because this is how normal police work has always been. They just have more data now. Right. What we need to caution ourselves against. See, we always say, well, the cops, they don't come until you commit the crime, so what's the point of having them? So we don't want to be advocating that they try to stop the crime before it happens. They're baiting us, trying to get us to say, well, if they get there before the crime or during the crime, then that's fine.
Right.
And I don't want them there before, during,
agreed.
any alleged crime. It's another way to justify their stranglehold over security enforcement.
Right. Well, I guess where my concern comes from this is how we have a network of cameras everywhere around us that police have access to, the government has access to. The way, like you talked about, so they talk about having algorithms set up to predict when crimes might happen, and then they can put extra resources there, kind of like you're saying. So, but when you tie that in with this, surveillance state that we have, now, I mean, what do they say on the news when someone gets arrested? Oh, they have 4 prior convictions. Oh, well, what are those prior? They don't talk about what they were and what that actually means. Oh, well, they got arrested for, they got arrested for having a flower in their pocket once.
Right. They got kidnapped for that.
Right, yeah, maybe they were outside on the street.
Ding, 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 you used the government euphemism.
Right.
Take a drink.
Right.
Sorry.
Very well.
No, it wouldn't.
So that's my concern, is in the future, as that becomes more prevalent, that like me, as a person who now has all these interactions with law enforcement, now I'm, as far as the algorithms and the people have been convinced that I'm a threat. I have all these interactions with law enforcement. So me walking by a camera at a certain time of day, by a certain store, all of a sudden that sends an alert, Corey Christopherson's in this area, and he's likely to commit a crime. You could, they even get facial expressions on some of this stuff now, like, oh, we can tell he's angry.
Right, yeah.
Well, send him in.
You were in the geofenced area, so you must have done it.
Right. So, well, yeah, and how easy is that to, as media is right now, it's super easy for them to, they could run any story they wanted. They could literally come in here right now and kidnap all of us and take us to a dungeon, throw us in a cage, and run whatever story they wanted to tonight. And most of our, at least for me, I speak, most of my friends and family go, Corey, I knew he was stepping out of line.
Must have done something wrong.
Right? Oh, no, not even must have. Like, he did. Like, they would already even know it. Like, yeah, I've been telling that, Corey.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's my biggest fear with stuff like this. I mean, it's not, they're already doing it, and it's going to happen. Rand Corporation, your big defense, Department of Defense Corporation is involved. So
There's another name for predictive policing, called fascism.
right?
There's so many angles of abuse also that can happen here, and they always say, "Oh well, we didn't really think it could be used that way," you know. But you know the old thing where they commit a bunch of looting crimes in one area of town so that they rob a bank in another area,
Right.
It's you can abuse that system the same exact way. It's just a little bit more sophisticated.
Right.
You set up a pattern of things happening over there on a certain time, a certain day,
Right.
while you're over here hitting the jewelry store
Right.
or the bank or whatever. There's no cops over there because the predictive policing didn't indicate there would be crime over here. It's the same thing.
Right.
It's all BS. Nonsense that you pay for.
Yeah. Right. Well, real quick, that's something, speaking of us paying for, I wanted to bring up with the whole Nathan Nash thing and him being convicted of this, as he brought up earlier that he's probably going to appeal this ruling. And who's paying for this? Even if it's not like a lawyer that's paid for by the union, which a lot of them are, this is he was on the job for this, so it probably is paid for. He was there as a police officer when it happened, so it probably is paid for by the union.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to look into that.
So if he is, like, that's even more gross. But the union that backs all these police officers isn't just kind of stepping aside and be like, hey, yeah, sorry, dude, you got on your own. No, we'll back you for other things, but rape, no, sorry.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to sit here and say that just because someone accuses you of something, you're guilty. You shouldn't have some sort of defense available to you.
Right.
But
you should be held to a much, much higher standard,
right?
If you were acting in an official capacity.
Right, yeah, especially if you're a corporate enforcement agent.
As a matter of fact, the Constitution, when it comes to innocent until proven guilty, doesn't apply to the government. When you're acting as a government person, you're guilty.
Yeah, you're right.
But they don't do it that way. But that's how it should be.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, it's really hard to put the handcuffs on yourself. Yeah. Well, anyways, yeah, like we said, he will appeal this, I'm sure. I guess I can't say that for sure, but
I was getting up there.
especially when, I mean, even if the union isn't providing his lawyer, even if he is providing his own, I mean, we, the people, are the ones paying for his lawyer because we pay his salary through extortion, stolen money. So, yeah, it's good I didn't use euphemism there.
Which is a violation of the Third Amendment to the Constitution of the United States.
Right?
We are not supposed to be quartering soldiers in peacetime.
Right? So, okay, how... we're not in peacetime, though.
There's no declared wars.
Well, we're in, what was it, after the Civil War, though, Lincoln declared us and put us under martial law and renewed by every president since then.
Oh, well, I guess it's okay to quarter soldiers,
Right, I guess, yeah.
pay for their house.
In, right? They can force their way in. Anyways, I think that's important when we're dealing with any, not just police officers, any government agent. We are paying for their defense. Just as a little side tangent here, there's a thing going on in the school district that I live in right now. They tried to remove some members of the school board the last couple of years, and now the school board is using money stolen from the people within that district over $200,000 to hire lawyers to go after the people who are trying to have them removed from the district. So, like, how fun is that to just play with other people's money? You know, I mean, when you're sitting back, like, well, I don't like what that person said about me. Like, normally, as a normal person, we would say, okay, I want to take them to court if we felt like it was liable or something like that. And then we have to, like, weigh the options. Okay, well, it's going to cost me $20,000 to hire a lawyer, or I can study for, however 1,000 hours and learn that type of law and go to court myself and represent myself. But, like, those are the things we have to consider. But these government people don't have to do that. Well, I was just going that, it's paid, we pay for all this stuff.
Yeah, double that.
Right?
All the time.
Right.
And now we're the idiots still driving around paying $5 for gas. Right?
Oh, that's what I was saying with that, is that, so these people, I mean, they don't have to weigh those options. Like, that money doesn't come out of their pocket. That's 200 grand they're paying for these lawyers.
Right.
In these investigation cases. It doesn't come out of their pocket, so it's no skin off their nose. It's like, oh, well, we'll just steal a little bit more from you this year, and
Right.
Have another levy, which
Right,
everyone will vote for.
Well,
Yeah.
right,
It's for the children.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, they're always for the children. Yeah. So just something real quick, and then we'll take a quick intermission. That's something, just because you brought that up, it's for the children. Every time they bring up levies, it really bothers me, because my son was in the disabled part of the disabled community within the school district. And that's like the first thing they talk about is, well, if you don't vote for this, if it's not approved, we're going to have to cut funding for the disabled kids.
Oh, no.
Right. I'm in there, I want to just start swinging around baseball bats. Like, how about football? How about basketball? How about soccer? How about track? How about all this stuff? No, we can't.
How about
cut
the
funding.
administrative salaries?
Right? Yeah. Like, how about the principal? Like,
How
just
about the
cut that.
14 secretaries?
Right? We can't cut that. We're gonna have to cut the disabled kids. Sorry, but unless you approve this extra money.
Heartstrings pulled.
Right? No, we actually, a small group of us, parents of disabled kids, went to one meeting and basically voiced our opinions when they said that. Like, no, they can't do that. They can't cut the funding.
Well, we signed a new contract for the Jumbotron, so that's we have to keep that.
Right. Yeah, we're under contract there. Oh, all right. Well, I guess it's time for an intermission.
And my brother-in-law sold it to us.
Right, yeah. I don't want to upset him.
That's
It's
how it
family, right?
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed this entertainment during our brief intermission.
I care because you were in there causing a disturbance.
I wasn't causing a
Or
disturbance.
because they fall.
That's not my problem.
It is now because you're here.
How are we doing, sir? Oh, I've had better days. You?
What's going on?
Ask her. She thinks she's going to detain me. What crime do you suspect me of committing? You have to. There is no disturbance. You have to articulate a crime. What is her name and badge number? She's refused to give it to me.
Why are we here?
I'm taking pictures. That's it.
Okay, why are we taking pictures?
I'm working on a story on the post office.
Okay. Or where's your firearm at?
What makes you think I'm carrying it?
Because you have a holster on your back.
It's empty.
Okay, well, I'm asking you, is it on your person?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, do you have any ID on you?
No, sir.
Okay, what's your name, Porter?
I'm not going to give it.
Okay.
Am I free to go?
No, not right yet.
What crime do you suspect me of committing?
Okay, well, I'm trying to figure that out.
I understand
Getting
that.
complaints
You
from-
have to have reasonable, articulable suspicion, sir.
Gave you that. You were inside taking pictures. You're looking at cars. You're taking pictures.
I'm not looking in cars, and there's no proof of that. And it doesn't matter. I can take pictures of everything.
If there's no proof of that, you will be free to leave.
Okay, what is your name and badge number, officer?
I told you, give me your name. I'll give you mine.
Is that what you tell the judge when he asks? What is your name and badge number, ma'am? Keep smarting. This is going to be very bad for your post for your department. What is your?
I'm Sergeant Book, Monero Police Department.
Thank you, sir. What is your name and badge number, ma'am? No, he didn't give me yours. I want the names and badge numbers of everybody on this call.
I've been drinking. I haven't.
What is her name and badge number, sir?
Have you been drinking this afternoon?
Have you? What is her name and badge number?
But I see an alcohol bottle laying right here on the ground, so I'm asking you, have you been drinking?
Take it up, fingerprint it. What's
I am asking you a question.
And I'm refusing to answer. What is your name and badge? What is her name and
Now
badge
I'm
number?
detaining you because I want to make sure you're not intoxicated in public.
What a bunch of bullshit. What is your name and badge
I
number?
believe I already told you.
What
that.
is her name and badge number?
I'm talking to you right now. All right.
All right,
We're
well,
talking
I'm
about-
clamming up. What is your name and badge number?
You haven't been drinking. I want to make sure you haven't been drinking.
Please
Come
give me
here.
a little space.
Come here. Come here.
I'm creating
going to
space.
check your eyes to make sure that you haven't been drinking.
No, sir, you're not.
Yes, sir, I am.
No, sir, you're not.
Yes, sir, I am.
No, you're not.
Do me a favor. Keep that right there. I don't care. Keep that right there. See the tip of this pen? How much you had to drink today? How much have you had to drink
I
today?
don't drink.
See the tip of this pen? I want to make sure that you're safe to do this.
I don't consent to field sobriety tests, especially when there's no.
Where you're standing, there's an alcohol bottle.
When she stopped me, I was down there.
Congratulations, we're standing right there.
Congratulations. See where her car's parked? That's where she stopped. Which is, oh, I don't know, what's that, about 60, 70 feet away from that? So what is your name and badge number, ma'am, last time?
No, let me get the last.
Well, that's their problem, not mine. And when you get a call for service on somebody taking pictures, then you should say, oh, that's a First Amendment protected activity. Actually, I'm done after this. Okay.
Have a good day.
All right.
And now back to Spokanarchy.
Okay, well, welcome back from the intermission. So we've got our Wheel of Misfortune back for the second week in a row, and we took away the previous entries and added some new ones. So we're going to have some fun with that. So we'll go ahead and get it started with our first spin.
You're recording the spin on the whatever the.
No, because I don't have a screen recorder for it here, so I have to do it at the house afterwards. You know, I don't have to sit there for an hour to get it off.
Dang it, taxes again.
The efficiency of well, I do things is awesome, right? Alright, here we go. Taxes it is.
That's too easy.
Right. Alright, well, yeah, I guess that's the only one on there from last week, is taxes. So clearly taxes. Where did that, do we even know where the word taxes came from? I should have done my homework on that.
Probably a king.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure that's who invented it. I'm going to take your money from you, and I'm going to call it taxes.
Yes.
So it's not taxes, it's theft or extortion.
Armed robbery in slow motion.
Right.
That's my favorite.
That is a good one. I like that. Armed robbery in slow motion. Are you looking up where it came from? Well, really quick, while Simon's looking that up, I think it was you that brought this up once, that the sheriff, everybody says the sheriffs are constitutional. And so I tried to find it, because we were like, where does it say that in the Constitution?
Not in there.
I couldn't find it anywhere. But the interesting thing is that you brought up, like, the sheriff originally came, I think, from England, and they were the, tax collectors. They were like, if you weren't paying your taxes, the sheriff went out to, went out armed to collect the taxes.
The sheriff of Nottingham.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly right.
So, just kind of another example of how we've been completely brainwashed, and to think that something in government that we think is good is actually the complete opposite. I mean, it's really how government operates. Every new policy or law or statute they create, what's the most recent one with the inflation? What do they call it? The end inflation.
The Inflation Reduction Act.
I mean, you don't even have to be that smart to look at it. It's going to do the opposite. Yeah, just like the Affordable Health Care Act.
Another euphemism.
Right. So, okay.
But
Something?
Yeah, so Greek comes from the word tassin, fix, so it's fixed. Latin, the taxere, sorry, it's going to blow up. Oh, chickens, sure, charred, corrupt.
Oh, that's all we need to know. Correct.
Yeah. And Old English is taxer, down to tax, is estimated or determine the amount of a penalty or a damage.
Oh, okay. So,
to exact a toll,
right?
take away from you.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically what the Old English one is saying that you're penalizing something.
Right, yeah. So what
For doing nothing wrong.
Right.
You have some carrots, now they're ours.
Right, yeah.
So we're
It's your
constantly
penalty.
penalized.
Yeah, so I guess, what's our, what is our penalty for being taxed? We're just live.
Yeah.
Actually, our penalty for being taxed is being too stupid to realize that if we can't be taxed, they can't do that. Like, who they're taxing isn't even us, it's like a fake entity.
We're going back to your
Yeah,
sheriff thing. The best way to conquer anyone is to divide them up, right? So what do we have? We have 50 different states. And within those states, we have like 30 to 50 counties. And a county is from the Spanish legal system. So basically the same thing as a lordship in England. So, the count of this or that.
Okay.
Well, the sheriff just took that spot. It's called sheriff here, but we call it county from the Spanish system. Okay. And so we're all divided. Nobody can get together and decide and figure anything out because we're all stuck in these little fake border things, and they've all got their little system. So we've been divided and we've been conquered for couple centuries now.
Oh yeah. Right. Yeah, well, I think that's funny that people, living here in Eastern Washington, we had all these people coming and they moved across the imaginary line to Idaho. And to us, it doesn't really make sense, I guess, because I think we kind of look at it the same, like, well, why do you really care who rules over you?
Right. Well, they're showing that the fact that they're moving in between imaginary lines, that they're okay with this being moved over here by this guy, but not by this guy. So they're okay with being moved.
Right.
Period.
Like, I like Idaho, but not because of the government of Idaho, because at least when I go into like North Idaho, the people there actually say, no, we're not going to take this crap. You know what I mean?
Some of them do.
Some of them. More
of them do. Yeah.
Right? Like, the population of Coogee County is what, maybe 100,000? The population of Spokane is like 500,000, Spokane County, and we got like twice as many people standing up in Coogee County as we do Spokane.
Yeah.
So, all right, taxes, we covered that one.
Well, yeah, it's like people don't even know where our taxes go. If you live in Spokane, like the taxes for the roads aren't going to roads.
Right. Well, yeah, I think that's something that's worth bringing up as far as taxes. I heard this on the radio the other day regarding public education. We're under this misnomer. I remember thinking, well, my property taxes, that's what pays for the school. And then I remember thinking, when I actually started paying property taxes, you're telling me this is what pays for all of that? No way. Then you really start thinking about it, like, there's no, like, that pays for the tiniest amount of it. And if you start breaking it down, I would say most of the funding comes from the federal government. And then, probably
65%.
Yeah. And then probably at least half of what's ever left comes from the state. And those, I would imagine, all come from mostly from like corporate taxes.
They come from money printer.
Right? Yeah, whatever.
And some taxes.
So that's kind of interesting to me.
But that's also similarly. You read about the Jackson, Mississippi, this week. They flooded, their town flooded, but it's a big city, flooded, and all their water pumps failed.
Oh yeah,
so
they
don't have any drinking water. Yeah. And they don't have any backups.
Right.
And bonus euphemism, deferred maintenance was the cause, right? They just decided not to take the tax money and pay for pumps. So now they have no drinking water.
Yeah.
There's a nice example. The taxes going to the pockets of somebody that's...
Well, like you brought up earlier, they probably needed a new jumbotron in the local civic center.
Yeah.
And somebody's brother Bob just happened to supply jumbotrons.
Yeah.
So they had to defer maintenance on the pumps.
Yep.
get the bill books on. I mean, that makes
Absolutely.
and it's good use of another euphemism, like you said. Yeah, so I guess my point with the taxes and where they actually come from is we're under this impression that, like, well, I paid taxes, and you didn't really pay. That all comes from, I feel like it all just comes from corporate taxes, which, I mean, it all comes from us.
It all comes from us.
But I'm just saying, like, but that's like why we don't actually have any say, because the amount of taxes that comes from us is so minuscule. Like, that's why with the school district, that's why they didn't care what any parent had to say around here, because even if all the parents decided to pull their money from the school district,
They got all their money from the next bonus euphemism, the American Rescue Plan.
right? Yeah, exactly. They're just like, we don't care. We got plenty of money coming in from other places, so whatever. Keep your money. The American Rescue Plan.
If we had real adults, all the parents would have took their kids out of school. School would be non-existent.
Right, but it's a lot of work to actually
Raise your own children.
it's a lot easier to just go to work and be a slave and buy things and then send your kids off to some institution.
Yeah.
So you don't have to think for yourself that way. It's much easier. Right. Glad we're so smart and have it all figured. Genius. All right, let's
We've got the problems down pretty well.
We do have the problem. Well, I feel like we have a decent amount of the solutions too, but I mean, the solutions just aren't what other people necessarily want to hear. It's not, as an anarchist or a voluntarist, the solution is, well, I have to figure out the solution to my problem. Whereas, like, people that believe in the state believe, well, you figure out the solution to my problem, I'm going vote in this thing. All right. Wait for the music this time. Civil asset forfeiture. All right.
Civil asset forfeiture.
Well, there's nothing civil about it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Start with that.
Well, what's the definition of it is that police officers, which is another euphemism for a road pirate, can take your money if they just suspect you of using it for money laundering or drug money or something like that. And they don't have to charge you with the crime, and they get to keep it.
Right. I'll try to find some stories on it. Don't they do that? I know there's like it's in Tennessee or something like that where it happens all the time. They have some law in Tennessee.
Some counties in Texas, it's their entire budget.
Where they literally will just stop people, and maybe that's the predictive policing thing coming in, where they know, like, oh, this dude's coming through this time. He's got 10,000 K cash on him.
Totally anonymized data.
Right? Yeah. And then they just kind of, hey, sorry, you're not allowed to have this much cash. It's not us doctoring. That's not going to have to take it documented. Like, oh yeah, that's awesome. Asset forfeiture. So,
well, asset is pretty obvious. It's your money, and then
they'll
forfeiture.
They can take cars, houses.
Yeah, but you're not forfeiting it. That's voluntary. That's a complete lie.
But it's civil, so of course
That's why it's a euphemism.
Yeah.
We're gonna just politely take your money from you.
See, there's even like a euphemism for this, because I think it's just asset forfeiture, and that's a euphemism in itself. Like you said, not forfeiting. They even have to like euphemism that up to make it sound better. Like, oh, it's civil. That's
It's a super euphemism,
right? Yeah, you're right. I don't think anyone's that has been the victim of this kind of theft has ever like, here, I'm forfeiting this to you.
Oh yeah, they're like, thank you so much.
Whatever it is, my car.
Yeah. Thank you so much for helping me see.
Right?
I'm a bad boy.
My weapons, my way of self-defense, you just forfeit those to me.
Yeah.
Trust that you're going to do that for me.
And for the listeners, keep sending new ones our way. We seem to come up with about 20 a week. But
Yeah.
there's more than there are seconds in a year.
Yes, I do premiere this at 8 o'clock on Sundays on the YouTube channel. And some people made some suggestions. I added them to the wheel then, right on the spot. I don't know why they didn't carry over to our link here. But we added them. Next time I'll write them down so we can make sure we get them here. But yes, please continue to provide us with more euphemisms. It's awesome. Like participation. Anything else to say about civil asset forfeiture? Pretty straightforward, pretty disgusting, pretty egregious.
Well, hopefully by explaining it more, we make it straightforward for more people, but it's far from straightforward. That's
Right.
the point.
Well, I guess, and that's what the point of it, I think, too, is, to make it where, like, when average Joe, like, these people standing out here, when they hear civil asset forfeiture, either on the radio or they read it on some news article, they go, wait a minute, what means theft?
Right. Armed robbery.
Right, yeah.
Armed. They're armed.
I was going to say, it's got to be like grand theft or something, too, even.
Because it's usually, more money than you would carry in your wallet.
At least aggravated theft or something like that, so, yeah. But yeah, that's like I was listening to some AM radio, talk radio on the way here, Joe Pags, San Antonio connection, and he actually said that we were talking about when going into some with illegal immigration. He was reading an article, and every time they said immigrant, he would say illegal alien instead of immigrant. He said, "See, we have to stop using their word." I agree with him. I don't necessarily agree with the whole illegal alien. I mean, in their term, I understand what they're saying. As a citizen.
Under the paradigm of all of their laws,
Right.
that's what they're called.
Exactly, yes, yes. Okay, so we'll move on to another one here. I have to add some different music for that.
Indeed. Vote.
Across the line, yeah. Vote it is. All right.
Vote.
You want to handle this one?
I don't know. To me, it's like voting for your demise. Like,
Suggesting your demise.
yeah.
Almost.
Please screw my life up. Yeah, voting. I mean, obviously, I just can't even see how people think it's still real. We still got people saying that Biden stole the election. And we've already known, like, through school, even though school's crap, that we have electoral college that picks president. So your vote doesn't count. And then locally, I mean, you have crap people to choose from to rule over life. So,
Right? That's where it affects us the most.
yeah.
These people that want to rule over other people's lives, we have to supposed to choose them by voting.
Yeah. Which is just absurd to me.
It's a euphemism for hilariously rejected suggestion.
That's true.
People think that their vote actually gives them a say in what happens in any government whatsoever, right? They think it has a say. I voted, so I'm a good person, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Couldn't be further from the truth.
right? And one of my friends likes to use this as an example. Rape is a democracy. Each person gets a vote in that, right?
A gang rape.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really work out too well for one of those people that's voicing their opinion, which is what a vote is.
Well, a lot of people say, like, did you vote? And you're like, no. Well, then you can't complain then.
Right.
You can't complain. I didn't vote.
It's the exact opposite.
Right.
You voted in the person that's now taking away all of your liberties.
Yeah.
I didn't vote for that.
Right, exactly.
I didn't vote at all
Exactly.
because I know better.
Right? You're the one that doesn't get to complain, even if your person lost.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just the whole concept of, like, so I have to choose one of, and it's always like 2, maybe 3 people that is going to have authority over my life.
Yeah,
I have to, like, give authority of my life over to.
Yeah, it's always a Democrat or Republican. You don't see very many independent or Green Party or some new party. Nothing. It's just the same old thing.
Here's a good illustration of voting. If you're standing next to somebody and they stomp in a muddy puddle and it gets you wet, and you're like, "Oh man, you got me all muddy wet," and then he says, "Well, you didn't step in the puddle. What do you have to complain about?" That's voting.
That is exactly it. That's perfect. So everybody go out and vote so that you don't get splashed.
Go step in those mud puddles.
Right?
Yeah.
Get everyone dirty.
Right. Oh, that's hilarious. You had an opportunity to stop in a mud puddle.
Yeah, you could have stepped in it, got yourself wet.
Oh man.
I saw the mud puddle and I was going around it.
Exactly. I was avoiding the
I
mud
saw the
puddle.
disaster.
Yeah.
That's why they call it the swamp.
Right. Oh, it makes that analogy even better. Oh, okay.
On that note,
Right. Well, like, I think the other part of that too is, so I had this conversation recently with someone who was actually at one of our exchanges, the last one, that lady got all upset.
And
So,
I'm learning, folks.
oh, you good? Like, so what this concept that if I vote for a new candidate, another one of the euphemisms, how is that going to change anything, this new candidate, especially in our system? Like, I am constantly reminded that our system it's a system of checks and balances. We have the executive branch over here, the legislative branch, and that way this person doesn't have too much power, and this person keeps them from having too much power. And then if that gets out of control, we have the third branch over there, the courts, and they keep both of these guys in check. So if that really is true, then why did, like, who cares who the president is?
yeah.
If the president doesn't have any power.
Newsflash: the government doesn't keep the government in check.
Right,
No.
right. Yeah.
But here's another illustration of that is if you're all in a locomotive train and it's about to head off a cliff, it's not going to help if you just slow down and some of the passengers get off and new passengers get on. It's still going to go over a cliff.
Right. Or it's better to pet like the engineer, the guy driving the train, the throttle up there. Yeah, you just slow it down and let a new one on. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, every so often.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's still going off. So don't vote.
All right.
And don't encourage others.
Okay, well, that's 25 minutes into the second half of the show here. That's pretty good. Do you have any? We didn't even do history for this part of the show. We might have to axe that. I don't have enough time for that. For bringing up something like historical, like lie we've been told. Space that out for this show. So
Save a good
maybe
one for
we'll
next
do it.
week.
Yeah, maybe we'll do it for next week. So, all right. Well, thanks for joining us again for another episode of Spokane Anarchy. And until next Sunday, remember to self-govern.
Thanks for joining me for this video. If you like my content, share it. It's the best way to support the efforts of this channel and only takes a couple of clicks. Most importantly, stop using big tech platforms and decentralize. Share this from a decentralized and blockchain-based platform to help spread the word about them.